On November 17th, 2013, 18-year-old Zoe Campos spent the evening with her family in Lubbock, Texas, a city known for its tight-knit community, but also its occasional dark undercurrents. That evening, Zoe and her sister went to Copper Caboose restaurant, a casual spot in town where they shared dinner, talked, and laughed like any normal evening. Zoe had just recently graduated from Monterey High School and was planning to start a job the following Monday, showing she was making steps into adult independence. After dinner, they left the restaurant around 11:30 p.m. Zoe then dropped her mother off at home before heading toward her own apartment located in the Driftwood Apartments on 70th Street. At 2:20 a.m., Zoe sent her mother a text message indicating she was on her way home. This was the last known communication from Zoe. Underscore 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 underscore. When Zoe's mother woke up the next morning, she quickly realized something was wrong. As Zoe had not returned home. Repeated calls and texts went unanswered. As Zoe's family immediately began searching, retracing her route, calling hospitals, and checking with friends. Within a day, Zoe's 1997 silver Lincoln Town car was discovered at an apartment complex on 50th Street, about 4 miles from where she was last seen. The car was locked with her personal belongings still inside, but there was no sign of Zoe. Despite extensive search efforts by law enforcement, family, and volunteers, there were no credible leads. Zoe's mother, Melinda, tirelessly organized search parties, distributed flyers, and appeared on local news, pleading for any information. What made this case even more unsettling was the complete lack of evidence. And no surveillance footage captured her after she left her sister. No credit card or phone activity was recorded after the 2:20 a.m. text. Her friends and family could not identify any reason she would disappear voluntarily. The community, shaken by Zoe's disappearance, supported the family through vigils and fundraisers, keeping Zoe's story alive in local media. As days turned into months, the case remained cold, leaving her family in a state of agonizing uncertainty and fearing the worst. Underscore 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 underscore. After Zoe Campos vanished on November 17th, 2013, her family's life changed forever. What began as a missing persons case soon turned into a years-long nightmare filled with dead ends, unreturned calls, and heartbreaking false hopes. In the immediate aftermath, Zoe's mother, Melinda Campos, reported her missing to the Lubbock Police Department, emphasizing that Zoe would never disappear voluntarily. From the start, the family and community worked tirelessly. Flyers with Zoe's photo were posted around Lubbock, on storefronts, car windows, and telephone poles. Vigils were held, with community members holding candles, praying, and releasing balloons in Zoe's memory, determined to keep her case in the public eye. Volunteers and search parties scoured fields, alleys, and abandoned areas, hoping to find any clue that could lead them to Zoe. Despite extensive police investigations, including interviews with family, friends, and known acquaintances, searches of nearby lakes, fields, and properties, checking Zoe's phone and social media records, reviewing surveillance footage from nearby businesses, no strong leads emerged. Tips occasionally came in, but each would end in heartbreak. Calls claiming sightings of Zoe turned out to be mistaken identity. Anonymous tips led to searches in remote areas, but no evidence surfaced. A rumor swirled around potential suspects, but nothing concrete tied anyone to Zoe's disappearance. For nearly 5 years, Melinda never stopped searching. She often drove around Lubbock late at night, scanning streets and alleys, hoping to catch a glimpse of her daughter. The emotional toll on the family was immense. Birthdays and holidays passed with an empty chair at the table. As Zoe's younger siblings grew up without their sister, while Melinda struggled to keep hope alive. The family faced moments of frustration with the investigation, feeling that Zoe's case wasn't receiving the attention it deserved, yet they persisted in advocating for her. The uncertainty became the family's cruel reality, unable to mourn, unable to move forward, and unable to find peace. Despite the passage of time, Zoe's mother continued to appear on local news stations, reminding the community that Zoe was still missing, refusing to let her daughter be forgotten. As the 5th year of Zoe Campos' disappearance approached, hope was fading, and the community had few answers. But in November 2017, a sudden development reignited the investigation. Carlos Rodriguez, a Lubbock resident in his late 20s, had a history of criminal behavior, including drug use and stalking. Around the time Zoe went missing in 2013, Rodriguez was briefly questioned by police due to being one of the last individuals to have contact with her, but insufficient evidence at that time prevented further action. In 2017, Rodriguez was convicted on separate stalking charges, unrelated to Zoe's case. He was sent to jail for violating protective orders and repeatedly harassing a woman, displaying aggressive and obsessive behavior that aligned with a troubling pattern. While serving time in Lubbock County Detention Center, Rodriguez began talking to fellow inmates, and during those conversations, he made incriminating statements regarding Zoe Campos. According to reports, Rodriguez bragged about knowing what happened to Zoe. He hinted that her body was buried where nobody would find it. He provided details that only someone involved in her disappearance would know. These jailhouse confessions triggered a reopening of Zoe's cold case. Investigators, who had not forgotten Zoe's case, saw these confessions as an opportunity to re-examine Rodriguez under a new light. They interviewed the inmates who reported the confessions, obtained search warrants for properties connected to Rodriguez, monitored his behavior closely, building a case while ensuring the investigation would not be compromised. The confessions prompted law enforcement to intensify their search efforts, focusing specifically on locations Rodriguez had access to in 2013. Tips that were once dismissed gained new significance, and previously overlooked leads were reviewed in context with Rodriguez's connections to Zoe. For the Campos family, the mention of a suspect being connected to Zoe's case brought a mix of hope and renewed pain. A hope that they might finally get answers about what happened to Zoe. Pain that the reality could confirm their worst fears. In November 2018, nearly 5 years to the day since Zoe Campos vanished, the mystery of her disappearance finally broke open in the most heart-wrenching way possible. After Carlos Rodriguez's jailhouse confessions in 2017, law enforcement spent months piecing together new leads. They interviewed people connected to Rodriguez, studied his movements from 2013, and re-examined previous statements for inconsistencies. The Lubbock Police Department received a key tip that led them to Rodriguez's former residence in the 1900 block of 70th Street, ironically, just blocks away from where Zoe was last seen alive. On November 7, 2018, investigators executed a search warrant at the property. Using cadaver dogs, ground-penetrating radar, and excavation equipment, they began methodically searching the backyard. After hours of digging, officers unearthed human remains wrapped in plastic and buried beneath the soil. The scene was somber as police carefully removed the remains while neighbors watched in stunned silence, realizing the grim reality unfolding next door. Zoe's family was immediately notified, though the official confirmation through dental records and DNA testing would take additional days. On November 16, 2018, Lubbock police confirmed the remains were those of Zoe Campos, finally ending the 5-year agony for her family, who had been searching and hoping for her safe return. The family's worst fears were confirmed. Zoe had not run away, nor had she simply disappeared. She had been murdered and hidden just miles from home. The discovery was devastating but also brought a measure of closure. It confirmed Zoe's fate. It ensured the case would now move toward justice. It allowed her family to properly lay her to rest. For the community, the discovery was a stark reminder of the dangers lurking close to home, and it reignited interest in Zoe's case, which had become a symbol of the fight for missing persons in Lubbock. underscore 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 underscore. This moment in the story is both tragic and pivotal. It ended the uncertainty the family had endured for years. It transitioned the case from a missing persons mystery to a homicide investigation with physical evidence. It forced Rodriguez, who had eluded accountability, to face the consequences of what he had done. It ensured accountability for the years of grief inflicted upon her family and the community. It allowed Zoe's family to finally begin the process of healing, knowing justice had been delivered. However, the sentencing could not erase the pain of losing Zoe, nor the years spent in uncertainty and fear. But it ended the legal battle, confirming that Zoe's life mattered and that her story would continue to serve as a reminder of the fight for justice for missing and murdered women. Underscore 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 underscore. This final chapter in Zoe's case shows how law enforcement, family persistence, and community pressure can bring justice, even after years of uncertainty. The power of evidence and confession in securing accountability. The emotional release and ongoing grief families face, even after justice is achieved.